Okay. So, hello everybody. I see that we already have someone. We wait for a while. In the meanwhile, if there's someone who can confirm that you hear us, and then we can start. Okay. Thank you, Trey. So, first of all, welcome to everybody. As you can see here, we are Riccardo, head of design, and myself, Davide.
Hello.
What we would like to do is, first of all, to reply to the question that we have got through the form that we kindly ask you to fill up, in order to satisfy also the curiosity of who maybe is not here following the live. And then the space that you have here in the comments is available for further questions. So that maybe once that we ended with the first questions, we have time to reply to some other curiosities. So first of all, let's start with let's say I go in order. Let's say top down. Riccardo, do you have also let's say the file where we have all the question and answers? If not,
I
maybe
think so.
you can.
Yes.
Okay.
No, I think so.
So I will go in not a specific order, but let's say replying to what we got first. So first in and first out. The first question was if there is any plan for the bad karmas and for the Teburu boxes. So for a box containing Teburu platform and the box for containing, let's say, all the contents that we have for bigger pledges like the Saga one. As you may have noticed from the surveys that we sent out today, that was useful for us to understand what you prefer to see most as added contents. We already added those two requests in the list in order to understand how much you like to have this featured in the possible add-on stretch goals. We will decide based on the result of the survey. So the reply is yes, we are thinking about. We were already thinking about, and based on the replies of the survey, we will unlock, or let's say unveil, what we can do. For sure, there's anyway a box for who buys the Teburu hardware kit. So we have anyway to work in that direction, and this means that we are anyway thinking about something to contain the Teburu system. The second question was about the experience that we had with the Zombicide. What about the partnership with CMON? What happened to the project? And we know that we had let's say many questions even before the Kickstarter campaign. So we already replied to some of you, but it's time to give the official reply. That is what also we wrote in the campaign. So the concept is that the partnership was going on to develop that game, and then COVID came and changed really many things to many of us, I think also to many of you. And the world board gaming industry somehow got let's say a delay in many of the process, a change of many business priorities. And the same happened to the project that we were running with them. So we decided to put on hold the project, and we will, let's say, wait for the future to understand whether, if, how this project will go on the platform. This because, as we also stated, one thing is Teburu and one thing is the Zombicide IP. So Teburu IP, trademark, franchise, technology is an asset of our own company, so Xplored. As everybody of you know, the Zombicide IP, trademark, and game is by CMON. So it is up to them to decide if, when, and how to put it on the system. So in this moment, what we can say is that the project is on hold, and that what we are focusing on are the project that we already officially listed and other ones that we will unveil later on. Then Next question was about the SDK. And here we had many questions about the SDK. So there are people asking when it will be available, how it is written, how it can be used. So I try to give a quick reply. The first reply is that we are thinking anyway an update on Kickstarter to explain a little bit more in detail how it has been conceived, developed, the stage, and how it works. What we can say today is the way it's structured. So the SDK is structured in such a way that we have a low level that is practically reading the hardware. So the very low level is reading through Bluetooth all the sensors from the board, the dice results, the LED ring situation. So all the data that comes from the hardware are in the low level stage of the SDK. And then we have a C# layer that is a bridge between the SDK and Unity. So this is the, let's say, the framework that we use for the development of the apps through the C# bridge. And then this gives us the SDK that is a sort of agnostic SDK that is linked to the hardware. So it's reading the hardware and putting it as a plugin into Unity. Then inside our company, we have also the Teburu networking system that connects all the devices, both locally and remotely. And we have our own Teburu game engine that we use to develop our own prototypes and that we use to develop the Bad Karmas game. So this is the way it is. And the plan that we have for the future is, as already we've written, is in 3 steps. So the first step is we develop the first games like the Bad Karmas, Sword and Sorcery, Vampire the Masquerade, and other ones that we have in our pipeline. And we are already onboarding second parties. And the second parties are companies that have both the board gaming brand distribution and experience from one side, and on the other side, the knowledge and the skills in the team to develop also the software side. So we are selecting some of them. We are already onboarding them in order to grant the platform to have more games by other developers. And this is the step 2. The step 3 is probably what all of you would like to have. That is the opportunity for the backers, for the end users to create their own games. So this, of course, for the actual stage of the SDK is asking for a minimum level of knowledge, so able to use Unity and able to build something, let's say, with the tools that we already use. But the stage 3 was originally the idea to give to the users tools that are friendly to use, even for not programmers, let's say. In the meanwhile, we are getting interest from some of you who probably have the skill to develop something in Unity if they get an SDK. So we are taking in consideration this opportunity to eventually anticipate the release of the SDK to some of you. And this will be evaluated in the next few days, and we will let you know if, how, when that can be done. But the original plan is, as I said, to give it in the future to everybody in order to have even not programmers able through tools to create their own games. Then to have also Riccardo telling something.
I was reading to the question coming in the chat, if you want.
Okay, yes. If you have someone selected, otherwise I think okay.
Gavin is asking what an SDK is. So maybe we start from the beginning. Just explain a bit.
Okay, so if you can go.
Yeah, for the SDK, we mean let's say a set of tools to program, to interface your code with the hardware. So it's like I don't know, the something similar to an SDK could be if you I don't know your programming skill, but if you use Unity, Unity is a sort of SDK. I know that now our coders are laughing behind me, but I'm trying to explain in a game designer sort of way. So yes, basically it's the interface, the environment inside of which you program and create games codes for Teburu or for other things, because SDK are for there's SDK for everything, and SDK means software development kit, basically.
Okay. Yes, that's it. Okay.
Yeah,
then,
and one sorry.
Sorry.
Because,
Go on.
one last thing. Yes, our SDK is for Unity. So basically, when you work, when you want to do something, create something for Teburu, you do it inside Unity.
Yeah, so at the end, trying to resume from a very high level is if you want to build an app, a software app, you build it with Unity, and even within Unity, thanks to our SDK, you can dialogue. You can read the data from our hardware, and so you can use the hardware to create an app that is based on what the app reads from our hardware. Then
yes, Luke is asking if for Sword and Sorcery there will be the need to buy a product or an upgrade, or if it's good to play with the original game.
The idea here is every game that we develop for Teburu is a new game. And the reason is that the best way to take benefit of the features means that we need to create not only the mission and the rules, but also all the, let's say, visual stories, sound, in order to create the right experience, the right immersive experience, even also for the Sword and Sorcery game. What for sure is kept is the whole setting, the rule set that is just, let's say, introduced inside our system and slightly enhanced, especially for the artificial intelligence that the monsters will use. So we're very similar to the approach of Sword and Sorcery, but is used and decided not by the user, but by the app. So the game at the end will be a new game that you buy for the Teburu system. I guess that now is quite clear to everybody, but the concept is that you don't need any more to buy the Teburu system. So who buys the Teburu system now for the bad karmas, keep it, let's say forever, and buy just the games. So Sword and Sorcery will be a new game that the actual holder of the Teburu platform buy just as a game, while the newcomers will buy together with the Teburu system. Then, while maybe Riccardo, you can read there, I can go quickly maybe through the questions that we got through the form. So then we can read one by one the comments live. Someone asked for Justin, so our fan, one of our fan number one, I would say, is asking whether we can do more animations, 3D animations, actions, and feedbacks on the app. That's give us, let's say, the opportunity to discuss how we see the games in Teburu, and the concept is we can do whatever we want, ideally, technically, on the app. Also because part of our background is from video games. The fact is that we are building a platform that is a physical board game with social experience while you play, with haptic interaction with the components, where the technology is hidden, where the technology is giving a layer of enhancement while you play the physical board games. So we don't want to defocus the attention of the users from the other people and the board, focusing too much on the device. The more we put on the device, the more animation, the more continuous lights, blinking in the device, the more it will be a video game and the less will be the player's focus on the board. So the reason is, let's say that the right reply is, while you play, you take your strategy with your team, you move your pieces and you decide what to do in game. What we want is just to support the experience with visual and audio information to make your experience richer, but not defocusing from the physical board and the other players. While when there's the hidden events, where there's the surprising events that we want to give to the users as a narrative surprise, as a let's say a moment of narrative evolution of the story, then in that case, for sure, we have, let's say, something like animation and cinematics. As you have seen some video, there are even in the game during the battle some events, like when you hit very strong the boss and he's changing status, or you go find something behind the pillar, or let's say simple events during the battle. Then you have all of a sudden an animation and a motion comic to give more emphasis to the moment that is creating an event that is narrating the story of your battle. But during the game, what we're doing is to make some more infographic to support the physical experience. That's the philosophy behind.
Then I stop you because
yes.
Yeah, Brandon, yes, Brandon and Julio, I guess, both are interested. It's something we already talked in the comment in the campaign, but I think it's good to talk directly. I mean, live about it. Is about the fact that there's a lot of electronic components that could break. So they're asking what happened if something breaks.
Okay.
Yes. What happens?
So first of all, I want to clarify one thing, because I see that many worries that I read on the comments and not only on the Kickstarter page comes from the fact that, for example, King of Average had an issue with his own board. It's just an example, but what we want to clarify immediately is that all the welding and the crimping that we did of the electronics for the board of the prototypes that we sent to him and to other reviewers have been done here handmade, even if the, let's say, the main part is industrially produced. Some crimping has been done here homemade. So they are prototypes, and for that reason, we had, for example, the issue that King of Average had with one line of sensors. But this will not happen with industrial product. And this is not something that we just believe because we want not to happen, but that because we already produce hundreds of thousands of electronic products with a very, very, very low return, thanks to the fact that the way our manufacturers produce is the way that they use for producing automotive electronics or other kind of high quality electronics. This is, let's say, on top. Then, should you have any problem, we give, let's say, the warranty by laws, a substitution warranty. So that means that it's easier also for us. If you have something that breaks, we substitute it within the warranty time, let's say legal time of the 2 years. And what happens after, because we got some questions also, Riccardo, I guess, about this one or two, is what happens after the 2 years. Yes, I mean, you go in the service center that we are building the network, and again, you can substitute your hardware components with a sort of trade-in policy. That means that you just pay the cost of the new one and the service, but you don't pay the full price. So in case you are out of warranty and you want for any reason to have, let's say, a new one because you have a defective one. But please remember that all the products that we did have been done by very reliable, expert and track-proven manufacturers that have this control also for 100%. So 100% of the products will be controlled in quality before going out. And that's also another key element of the way we produce the goods. So Riccardo, I agree with you that maybe we can give priority, let's say, to the live question, and then eventually at the end we can go back to
we can fill with the with the question we got yesterday. Trey is asking if there's plans for the heroes to take on future quests to maintain the world in maybe an expansion past the karmas. Expansion past the karmas. I mean, if we're planning to use the heroes, the same heroes, I guess, for other quests.
Okay, this is a let's say we have two replies, because if you want, then try to write back also specification, but I give two replies even if I try to be quick. One is, we are building an IP. So the Bad Karmas is a new original IP that we built with also top-notch talents. Like, I mean, you saw the art has been done by Andrew Becker, who did the Godzilla, who did the Hobbit trilogy, and many famous creatures of the movies. Same is for the story. So the original story is written together with Christian Cantamessa, who is a famous game designer, writer, and director. He's the author of Red Dead Redemption, and now for the initiative of Perfect Dark by Microsoft, and also on some movies. So we built this IP because we strongly believe that the Bad Karmas game is not the only one that we will do based on this setting. So the plans for the IP are long-term. And so the quick reply is, in our intention, yes, you will use the same heroes for future games based on the same setting. That's the short version. But which games, when, what is something that probably is too early to reply in detail, as we need to be focused on the games that you need to get as soon as possible in your hands.
And Joao is asking if we imagine to have additional tables, I guess additional Teburu boards for certain games that needs modular boards.
Okay.
Yes.
Do you want
I mean,
to reply?
the board itself is expandable. No, not expandable. It's can be upgraded and expanded. We already said more in many occasions that you can connect two boards to have the double the space to play on. And also maybe I don't know if he's referring to the fact that for the Bad Karmas we have big battle boards, just one piece of battle boards that cover the entire Teburu, but in other games you could have modular boards, or sort of like you can even have a tiling laying game on Teburu. So yes.
Yes. So what I could add is our actual board is 75 by 45 centimeters. That means, in the end, is 25 by 15 inches, I guess. And that's the right size that we use specifically for the Bad Karmas, and that we will use for the other main games that we do. But this doesn't mean that the games need to have always that size, and neither that proportion. So as Riccardo said, we will do both. So the boards can be paired each other to create bigger maps for bigger battle for other games, and or on top of the Teburu board, you can place different tiles in order to create, for example, a dungeon crawler that you explore piece by piece, with the concept of fog of war or line of sight. So this is, let's say, the Teburu board is just a standard size that we use as a base, that can increase if you put more than one, or you can use just part of it with a smaller map that you are exploring.
Yes.
Okay, so then I would go further. I take the opportunity to reply to a question that I got privately. I mean, I got many of you have written, let's say, individual messages to us to ask for things. I always suggest to ask those questions directly on the comments, because as you have seen, we have a team of 20 people working on the project now live, while 30 is, let's say, the whole team working on the whole project for the production. And we are daily focused on giving to you feedback. So don't feel obliged to write directly to us, but feel free to write even in the comments if you prefer. So there are few direct messages that we're asking for the future of Teburu, what we can imagine for the future of Teburu. And this, I think, is important to reply also here. I mean, one thing is we are launching the game with the system with a game that we believe is very easy to access to and very engaging, because you have never, I guess, you have never played, you have never seen worldwide a boss fight game against an intelligent enemy. So this is what we thought would have been the best introduction to the system, because with a simple game, a cooperative game, you have anyway an experience that is quite astonishing for what we have seen in Essen or in other shows where new people were coming and starting to play something new. But in future, the fact that the system reads all the movement, you can be connected locally, but also online with other players, really put the sky as the only limit. So one of the examples that I also wrote, I guess, on Sunday evening is, let's imagine about the future that I have Teburu, all you guys have Teburu, and we have some friends play inside the room with us, other friends maybe can play together anyway online. But we can even in the future think something like a massive multiplayer tabletop game where Riccardo and I and our friends enter in a dungeon, and then in that dungeon, some of you is playing at the same time. And so maybe we enter in the cave of the dragon, and the dragon is dead, and the treasure is no more there, and there's a wounded party of adventurers that are indeed other players. So and then we decide what to do: if to talk, to leave, to attack. That is, of course, something that is not existing today, is not offered today with the actual game, but this is what you are going to get through our system. Just to imagine, to think forward. And that is exactly what we want you all to see as the potential of this system. Of course, what we need now is to thanks to this starting campaign, to have a core base of early users that get the system, the Bad Karmas game, and then in the future we'll get all these kind of things that we will develop. So I have many other questions, but Riccardo, if you see something that
yes,
is...
there are some questions in the chat that maybe there should be easy, quick to answer. Like Brandon asks if he hasn't seen any other games than dungeon crawlers on Teburu, so he's wondering if it's possible to make other games, if we plan to make other games that are not dungeon crawlers.
Yes. Okay, so if you, I think we will make a post about the prototypes, because an update on Kickstarter about the prototypes that we have been developing, because we are around Teburu, let's say, and on Teburu since years. Yes, the reply is yes. It's not only dungeon crawler. Like a boss fight is something that you are seeing with the Bad Karmas. Dungeon crawler will be, let's say, expressed and featured for the first time through Sword and Sorcery, but can be many other kind of games in that style. And then the Vampire the Masquerade will be not a dungeon crawler. Will be a game that is, let's say, something that is near in terms of experience and interaction with the game. The board on the table is maybe Arkham Horror 2nd Edition. Is one of the games that I had played most, I guess, some years ago. So the fact that you have a map, that you have a city, that you explore in areas, and each area means something, is a district of the city, and then something happens there, and then you manage your encounters and so on. So this is, let's say, is not a dungeon crawler for sure. It's a different kind of game. But to go even wider, I can tell you that we already experimented sport games. You can imagine PvP games where you have a team and the other player has another team, and you play PvP, and the board is just a field, like a soccer field. and you move your in a tactical soccer simulation of player versus player. That's one possible kind of game. We were exploring also, Riccardo, on
hidden
Friday
movement games.
Hidden movement games.
Yes.
So we cannot say the titles, but you know, famous titles, let's say even from Ravensburger or other ones that that works on hidden movements a lot. And we are both evaluating the porting of these famous IPs as well as new specific games based on hidden movement. Not only the movement, but hidden actions, because maybe what you do is partially visible to the others, so where you go and so on, but maybe partially is just invisible because you have your own device and you decide in a hidden way which kind of action to do. So something, let's say the difference between the public visibility of what you do on the table and the private visibility of what you do that is in this way hidden. So we have already explored these kind of things, as well as just to really test everything, also the real-time strategy game, but in a board game that with pros and cons, but we are really trying to explore different kind of ways. It's not just dungeon crawler for sure. While Riccardo, you see whether there's something else interesting, I go maybe to a few questions that we received. One is,
yes,
wanted to understand better how the remote gameplay works. We have a video, for example, that you can go and look to the Teburu channel. Sorry, not in the Teburu channel. It's linked because it's in on Board Game Coffee channel on YouTube, and is linked on our page. It's the first one of our video. And here is a live that we did. So we were two guys, Alessandro and myself in Italy, and Mark Maya and Brittany, his wife, in Canada. And we were, let's say, connecting each other. One Teburu board in Italy, one Teburu board in Canada. We were just creating a section. They were joining the section, and we were playing together. So exactly the same game, where Alessandro and I were controlling two of the bad karmas, and Mark and Brittany were controlling the other two. And when we were moving, they were seeing us moving on the device, so they were updating their own map, and we were doing the same when it was their turn. And the good thing was that it was really the first time that we were experimenting that so far, because one thing is to experiment in them that in office, in 2 rooms, or maybe in Milan and Rapallo, so here a few kilometers, but from Italy to Canada, the lag was about half a second probably. And so when we were rolling the dice, we were almost, let's say, saying, wow, when we were rolling the 6, almost at the same time. So, and the experience were really very similar to being on the same table, to being in the same room. And that is not what we say, is what they said. And that's exactly what we want to offer, something that I think all of us loving this board game fields would like to do today, especially during the lockdown seasons, to play with friends without being limited by the logistic. Then we can go on with the other questions. Otherwise, in the meanwhile, feel free to write in the comments.
Kai, I guess Kai, sorry if I mispronounce, is asking if, since I mean, when painting miniatures, sometimes you screw up and you want to start again, so you wash your miniature, basically, not with wash, but with solvent. And he's asking if putting the miniatures underwater, if it breaks something, if it's possible to remove the
yes, for the
technological part of the electronics part of the miniature.
Okay. Yes, also in boiling water, maybe if you have something that you need to bend. I would say that let's clarify this. In the miniatures, we don't have electronics. The electronics that we have is, I should have some sample here. Okay, is in the counterbase. So we have the miniature, and then we have the yellow part is the counterbase. So the base on the bottom that is glued and the reason why we glue it on, for example, on the bad karmas, is that each single character has its own unique ID tag worldwide. So my Fernando character will be different from any of your Fernando character. So the data that I save inside my character are unique worldwide. So that's why, I mean, we glue it, because a miniature with the tag are a unique thing, but it's on the bottom. So it means that if you need to do any kind of work, the important thing is that you don't ruin the, let's say, the base below the miniature. Same is for the bosses. So if I take this boss, as you see, this is, for example, is Aquarius, and all the electronics is on the LED ring. What we have here again is just in the base that we have some smart components, but all the rest is without. So it means that we for sure will indicate what you can do, what you don't, and indicating clearly where is what in order for you to be safe. But just for you to know, anything from the base on top, both in heroes and in the monsters, let's say in the Zodiacs, is just plastic. So knowing this, you should have no problem in managing the things that you want to do. Then I take, in the meanwhile, another, while Riccardo, you read, I take another question from the form. Remote. Okay, so there's we had in these days many requests about the something to recharge the die, more dice together, let's say, and not only one. So I make the full reply is the actual industrial design has the slot for one die to be recharged, let's say when you're playing, when the board is turned on. Why just one? First of all, because in the base kit we want to save as much as possible all the costs, and the reason is that our philosophy is that we don't want the entry-level people to pay something that they don't use, and maybe to add as an add-on something that just a few use. So placing one or more slots for recharging the dice, of course, would have changed the cost. So the slot that we have there is for recharging one die, but please consider that with a very few minutes of recharge, then you can use that dice for thousands rolls, thousands. It means that even if you have more, you for sure use the same dice for many game sessions. So while you play, maybe you recharge another die. But the dice that we were using in these days for all the testing were always the same, and we almost never needed to recharge them. So saying that, we agree that it's important to have something to recharge more dice, because especially for the Saga Pledge, where you have more dice, there are people asking to have something to be sure to recharge all of them. And also to be sure to have a tool that in the future allow them to recharge more dice, maybe with different shapes, like 10 faces dice, okay, for vampire or sword and sorcery. So what we are doing is, let's say, as we always wrote, we read you, we listen to you, and our hardware department this morning already took in charge this, took care, let's say, of this request. They already have some options. So just give us a few more days to understand how to do the best possible solution to recharge more dice with the minimum cost for you. That's always our main goal. Not because we are saints and we want you to save money, but because it's stupid to pay what you don't need to have. And this for sure good for us if it's costing low, so everybody's happy to take it for the right price. So in the next few days, we will let you know if and how it's feasible. Also because reading the actual replies, many, really more than 100 in few hours, of the survey that we sent out to understand from you what is most important for you to have more, as more contents. There's a good amount of people that is asking for the dice charger. So it's one, let's say, is in the top 5. So this is one of the reasons why we are working on it, and we will let you know.
Okay.
Riccardo?
Yeah, no, about the dice, Joao was asking if we plan to have other dice than D6. And of course, as Davide was saying, for the recharge part, the recharge aspect of it. But yes, we plan to have other dice. For example, Sword and Sorcery use D10 dice.
Yes,
so
also
yes.
Vampire.
Also Vampire.
Yes, there's also one. Let me tell one more thing. That is one of the patents that we have on the technology is one of the reasons why we grant that the dice do not need so often the recharge. Because one of the patents is the fact that when you don't use the die sleep deeply, so consume almost nothing. Then when you shake it, and that's the reason why you see some reviewers reading and shaking the dice, it's not needed every time that you roll the dice. This probably was not communicated clearly to the reviewer. So during the gameplay, when the die is awakening, it is live, let's say, then you take the dice and you just, let's say, shake and roll, but not so much. You don't need so much to shake it. Is only when you wake up. So when you turn on the system and you want to tell to the system, well, I want to use this die or these 4 dice, then you take all of them during the setup, you shake them a few seconds, and then they wake up. From that moment on, they start consuming a bit, and they consume more when you roll them. And then they turn on, let's say, napping, and when you turn off the system, they go to sleep deeply. So that's one important algorithm of consumption that allow us to have the dice really, once charged, to be ready for thousands rolls. That's the reason why you don't need so often to recharge them. So I go back to
yes,
to other questions here. That is always about the die. Someone is asking about the dice balancing. So what we can say is, apart from the fact that in any convention we went to, no one was perceiving or feeling unbalanced dice. Never. But we want, of course, to have a static and dynamic precise balancing of the final industrial design of dice. And so what is already planned by the engineering process and industrialization process is the CAD design using a finite element method in order to grant, let's say, both in theory and then in practice, that the dice is both statically and dynamically perfectly balanced. And that's really feasible with not only the position of the electronic and the battery, that is the heaviest thing inside, so where to place it in the design, but also with the material that you use inside and the way to counterbalance it. So it's already a proven process, and that's the way that we grant that the dice will be perfectly balanced. Okay.
Yes, let's complete the dice chapter with the last question from Kai. Is asking if you have to roll the die on the Teburu board to be read, and the answer is no.
No.
The dice are read up to something like 5 meters from the board, so you can roll them wherever you want. Also, if they fall down the table, the roll counts because it's red. So yeah, you don't need to roll it on the board.
Yeah, but this, I mean, guys, this indeed gives us the clear feedback. This is one of the reasons why we wanted to do this section, and I think we need to do more. I think we need to fulfill the FAQ section in the Kickstarter page. There's a lot of questions, a lot of information that we probably didn't think to communicate, because we are working for so much time on this platform that we say probably forgot to tell all the things. But indeed, it's written nowhere that you can roll the dice wherever you like, but that's it. And that's, I think, is an important small detail. Because if you think to have your board fulfilled with miniatures and let's say standees, you don't want to roll, let's say, during the dribbling the, the pieces on the board. Maybe you want to roll them on a normal dice tray or on your table or wherever you like. And that is why we did it in that way. But you're right, and we didn't communicate. But that's it. Okay. I just, there's Alessandro asking whether we will be in Modena this year. So the plan is to be there. We will define, now we are really focused, I think 16 hours a day on the on the Kickstarter, but we will define with the Modena show the details of our presence. We don't know yet how, but our intention is to be there in order to have people playing and trying the game during the show. But what's important, I think, that there's one key information that I would say two key information that we sent out today with the update, that Kickstarter update that we sent out today. I guess that being you, the backers that are more active, interested, and engaged and committed, you must probably are aware. But I take the opportunity to tell it anyway. One is the retail strategy, and the other one is why to back now. The retail strategy is, again, probably we were too fair in communicating that there's not yet a retail plan strategy, that we have been misunderstood. So saying that there's not yet a plan for retail doesn't mean that we will not go retail. We will go retail, that's sure. What we don't know yet is who is the distributor and the retail price. So probably we didn't communicate it properly, but the concept is we will be on the shelf with a product that is not exactly, most probably not exactly the same that you are buying now. For example, for sure, Ophiuchus is a Kickstarter exclusive, and we have a few other things that will be Kickstarter exclusive, so the retail version will not have it. And for sure, the price will be different. Because one key issue, to reply the second point, is we, as we said in the video of the Kickstarter page, we already bought the electronic components in order to be safe in the actual global chip shortage. So in November, and in December, we bought already all the components to make the first stock. So today I did the last, literally today, I did the last wire transfer to the supplier for the last components that we miss for some dice. And so we have the full kit of all the electronics already in-house, but this last one that is going to come, in order to produce the first kits. And that grants us the price that we offered on Kickstarter. But due to the fact that prices are going wild and crazy in many things, and most of all in the electronics, time and price, what we can't do is to grant that late pledges, future games can keep the same prices for all the electronic parts. So the Teburu system today is, instead of being, let's say, 150, is really promoted for the early adopters at 100. So if you take the core pledge is 100 plus 70, more or less, 70 the game and 100 the system. But this is something that is by far a lower price compared to the retail one that is feasible. And anyway, it's most probably lower than what we will be able to grant to the next games pledgers, to the backers of the next campaigns. And we don't want to tell it to say, you have to buy now because it costs less. It's simply that if we will be able to keep the cost at this level, we will confirm the price, most probably. But for what we see on the market is most probably very hard. And that's why we already not only ordered, we bought them. We had them delivered, the components, before it was too late in order to grant the prices that we wanted to publicly ask on the Kickstarter campaign. So if you want to have this system, if you want to have that price, take it now. Then in the future campaign, you buy only the games. And if you bought now the Saga pledge, you have also 10% cashback of the future games, even if you buy only the game for Sword and Sorcery, for Vampire, and the other ones that come. Okay, so it's almost 1 hour, and I guess it was
no more question.
Right time. No more question. Let me see whether I forgot something. Yes, what I would conclude is about the stretch goals and add-ons community survey that I already anticipated. What I can say there is that really thank you, because the reply was massive. I mean, compared to other votes and so on. So if for voting Ophiuchus, we had to wait a few days to achieve the number, almost the same number here came in 2 hours. So we really know now the main backers' preferences. So what we do is tomorrow morning, we intend to work on the results of the survey. And what we want to do is to start offering to you, let's say, options in order to get what you want more on the campaign, because we have a long list of things. We want to give some priorities and to immediately support you and the campaign with something that has more value for you. So we already see what's the most requested item for sure, and we will start, let's say, tomorrow, the day after, so this week, to work on the plan in order to give you the opportunity to get these more things. There are a few more questions. So last minute question: who's the lucky one that about to crash on Zodiac's video? Okay, so Trey, right question. The good thing is, it's true that we already stopped the participants' candidature. We got, I guess, 70. Not all of them are valid, because some was few of you, let's say, tried to participate even with a €1 pledge. It is not allowed. So we just have to filter them. And then what we want to do is to use any, I'm not the expert, the team is just selecting one, to use a lucky draw system, let's say public online on a website that is public and not ours, in order to be sure that all of you understand that we have no preferences, that we just do a neutral lucky draw. In order to see live, maybe in a few days, we do a second live where we reply new questions, where we explain more things, and where we do the live lucky draw. So we don't know yet the name. We don't decide. We want to lucky draw it in live, and so you will know in the same moment we know it. What we do then is we take one of the prototypes, not the king of average one. We take one of the prototypes that we have, and we ship it to this guy who will get it and play with us. So we show two things. One, that each one of you potentially can play with the system and try the experience. And second, that how the remote feature works, because we do a remote online gameplay with us. So for sure with Riccardo, most probably with me and maybe one other guy. Or if the lucky guy has a buddy, I don't know, wife, husband, son, who wants to play with him, maybe we do 2 and 2 if that's an option. So we discuss with who is the winner. And for sure, we will do the live streaming of the remote gameplay within the end of the campaign. We have more questions, so we continue. Teburu is the Japanese word for table, Kai. Why did you choose this? There are many reasons. So The first reply is that I still don't know after 14 years why we choose Xplored as the name of our company. I mean, we know why, but you know how many times I had to spell it and say without E at the beginning. So sometimes names comes from the gut. In this case, Teburu is a name that came for various reasons. So I'm pleased of the name. The reason is it's a tabletop game industry, and that's it. We want to respect it, and so the future games will be Teburu top games. So the concept is to keep the word table, that is, in our opinion, the key element between people playing around the table. So Teburu is the table around you, around which you play. Second is that it's always hard when you try to create a brand, especially from Italian guys, a brand that is almost pronounced as it's written all around the world. And the Japanese wording, if you see in many brands, is often chosen because it's simple to pronounce it correctly, let's say. And these three, let's say, just 6 letters, so Teburu. And the other aspect is that from one side there's tradition, on the other side there's technology, and we feel that, let's say, the Japanese culture represent these two aspects of nature, so being traditionalist and innovative in technology. Last question is Carlos, who is asking, will there be accessible an API or other documentation so people can create their own games on Teburu? I anticipated it at the beginning, but I repeated it here. Yes. So the goal in the future is to not only give simple API, but to give in the hands of our users a sort of Teburu game engine to create their own games. But this needs and takes time and investment to be created in the proper way. On the other side, we want to understand who between the backers has indeed software developing skills through Unity and so on that may be interested in an SDK. This is something that we will evaluate as an earlier stage. But in the future, the concept is yes. So in let's say a couple of years, what we want to do is to give to all the backers, starting with the founders. So let me add this. Who becomes founder of the Teburu system through this Kickstarter campaign, and only through this Kickstarter campaign, so not with the future ones, will be a founder of the Teburu system. So we'll get the founder membership that allows them to get the games and the SDK before anyone else. The games in terms of print and play, hardware, and beta testable app on one side, and the SDK before the API, let's say, before anyone else, because you are, let's say, in the club of the founder that are pushing now the system to go out. Okay, so that's it. What we do this week is we work hard in order to add more contents and to communicate even stronger and better the campaign goals and contents. So we have no doubt. Also, I've seen quickly during my lunchtime, Alex from Board Game Co. saying to everybody, guys, this will be funded. So don't worry. This is not a doubt. We will be funded anyway. And then from there on, we have many things to do together. But we anyway start from tomorrow to explain more things that you can get. Other founder benefits, yes, I mean, there are two aspects. One is to create this exclusive community that will get a specific role and channel on Discord to talk with us, that get before everyone else the opportunity to play test DLC. Like if we do, let's say, new game modes for the Bad Karmas, they will get it before. If you do the Sword and Sorcery, when we will do the Sword and Sorcery game, they will get a sort of print and play version of Sword and Sorcery, and let's say the beta version of the app in order to test it up front. So who wants to be in the club also to test before and have a special relation with us before anyone else is now, of course, suggested to be in the founder list. Then if you take the platinum founder membership, that means if you take from Saga Pledge on, let's say, or higher, you get also the 10% discount, let's say, cashback on the next game. So it means that any Teburu campaign that we do after this one, that you decide to attend, up to 3, if you, when you invest 100 in the Kickstarter pledge, then during the pledge manager, you have 10 back to spend for covering the shipping or for buying add-ons or whatever you want to do with it. So on. Okay, so is more than 1 hour. That means that we ended. Good thing is that we have been able both to reply to the question that you sent up front. I thank all of you for being here and also adding more questions. If it's something that you like it and it helped to better clarify, for us it's very easy to repeat it. I think that maybe once per week we can repeat it, but let's now restart to communicate on the Kickstarter page, and then maybe we do a second round here next week with the live drawing of lucky draw of the winner. So thank you very much and see you on the Kickstarter page.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.